So put a finger down if half of your biological family is now behind bars for plotting your murder. So when I was 14, I made the realization that I was pansexual. I at the time did not know my own family's feelings about sexuality. So I decided to come out to them, but nothing could have prepared me for the extreme homophobic reaction that was in store. I just want to put a massive trigger warning over the rest of this story. After coming out to them, I literally remember nothing. I woke up completely foggy and out of it in a hospital. I was then let know by the doctors that I had a major head concussion and possible amnesia. Obviously, I was entirely confused and had no idea what happened. So that's when I was let know that all three of my parents, I have a stepdad as well, were in custody. They were being charged with abuse and assault. And then two of my aunts were also taken in for tampering with a crime scene. And literally the only reason that I was even found was because the neighbors heard me scream and called the cops. And now I was a ward of the state and had foster parents. Once the trial started, that's when all the crazy details about the crime came to light. Follow me on Insta for part 2. Storytime part 2 to my biological family plotting my murder. So this is where the trial began. Thankfully, my neighbors not only heard me, but they also watched some of the events occur through the back door. They watched my family remove a glass gun cabinet, which apparently my head went through. They assumed that I was going to die, so my aunts came over and started to scrub the entire place with bleach. And when asked why exactly this incident happened, my stepfather with no hesitation stated, because that no good for anything piece of ish thinks she has a choice over who she sleeps with. My aunts were sentenced 15 to 20 years and had to pay up to 10 grand in fines. Both my stepfather and my biological father got life in prison, and my mom got 60 to life for her assistance in the whole thing. She also didn't notify the authorities and failed to appear for her first trial. After the trial was over, I ended up getting adopted by two amazing men who live in Russia, which is my home country. They later adopted my siblings, and I'm now 24 with an amazing career and family. And even though I've changed my entire name, my biological family still tries to reach out. If you have a story time you'd like to share, DM. My roommate literally left me homeless while I was dying in the ICU. So I was studying over in Argentina to become a doctor. As part of the medical program, we had to see patients. This one girl that I was seeing had the chickenpox, which turned out to be an intra-hospital virus. So this chickenpox was way worse than the normal one, and I ended up contracting it. When I went to go get checked for it, they just gave me the normal treatment. Tylenol, rest, cream, but the illness got way worse. I started to get these awful headaches, and eventually I couldn't eat and I couldn't breathe. With the last of my energy, I managed to call 911 and opened up the front door to my apartment and completely fainted, and that's how the doctors found me. I woke up in the ICU as a biological risk patient, and the hospital literally had to get a hold of my parents, who were in Ecuador at the time, and tell them that their daughter was about to die and maybe had 24 hours. So they immediately got on a plane and came over. Since I was in the ICU and they had no idea how long I'd be alive for, I asked my parents if they could pick up some of my things, but my roommate would not pick up. That was when we got a call from her dad saying that all my stuff needed to be out of the house or they were throwing it on the street. Follow my Instagram. Storytime part 2 to my roommate leaving me homeless after she found out I was dying in the hospital. So instead of her being woman enough to pick up the phone herself, she had her parents call my parents. They literally said I needed to be out or else they were going to throw my stuff on the curb. My parents were in another country taking care of their daughter who was dying, and now they couldn't even be with her because they had to go to the house, pick up all my stuff, and put it in their Airbnb. And my roommate's parents literally started to threaten jail if they didn't. They went and grabbed all of my stuff. I slowly started to get better, which I really owe to my parents being there. I honestly feel like just seeing my mom helped. And I was finally coming to and realizing that I was in fact homeless. So I called her up and had her explain it to me. And her reasoning to kicking me out was that she just couldn't concentrate because she didn't want a dead person's belongings being in her house. It was disturbing her. They also refused to give us our deposit back or any of the months that we had prepaid. I had to give away literally everything I owned and try recovering in an Airbnb, which just made me get sick again. So I got an emergency flight back home, and I had to drop out of med school with all the trauma the situation caused. My health never fully recovered, but I learned how to manage it. So in the summer of 2020, my baby daddy was working as a salesman. But obviously, there is a lot that can go wrong with this. So at the time, we were making bank and getting that bag. Literally, I kid you not, 5 grand every couple of days. So you can say we were doing pretty well for ourselves at that time. But one particular night that he had a sale, I had a really bad gut feeling. These people asked to meet him about a block away from our house, and this sales product was worth about $3,500. But he had already made about $1,700 this morning, so I was kind of concerned about this next sale. I was laying in my room about to tell him not to go when he just went ahead and left. And that's when I heard yelling from down the block. I was like, oh my God, and I looked out my window and there was 4 guys surrounding him with masks on. That's when I heard my baby daddy yell for me to bring the money. I immediately said okay and started to rush to grab everything. As I was running down the stairs with the money and approaching them, I noticed that one of the guys had a gun to the back of my baby daddy's head. Follow my Insta for part 2. Storytime part 2 about my baby daddy having a bad, sale. So as I start to go to them, they start to head up the stairs to me. And as we're approaching each other, I can see that one of the guys has a gun to the back of my baby daddy's head. Another guy has a knife to his throat, and the other one just looks like he was the muscle of the group. They were literally walking to come to our house. I made sure it was entirely pitch black within my place so that they couldn't see anything that was there. And I just brought them the money. I was like, take it, here it is. And he just stared at it. And then I said a little bit louder, take it. And he was just looking at it. And then I screamed, take it, it's here. And that's whenever he took the money and started to push my baby daddy up the stairs. I was pushed to the side as they looked around to see if they could take anything else. But they obviously couldn't see anything and just left. Neither of us slept for several days, thinking that they would probably come back. But thankfully, they never did. My baby daddy is still a salesman to this day. We're just more cautious, and I'm working on getting my education so I can get a steady job. If you have a story, DM me on Insta. So I can't really tell if it's romantic or not that my boyfriend put me up as the prize to a race without me knowing. To give some backstory, we were dating on and off for about a year and a half. And we'll just go ahead and call this man Brad. We met in health class and he was kind of an a-hole, but I honestly fell so hard for him. Well, around this time, he sold his old car and got a beautiful 2015 black Charger. And let me tell y'all, I would feel like such a baddie when he'd come pick me up. And when I moved an hour away, he would still come pick me up weekly and take me to nice hotels. Well, one day he was talking to me about how obsessed his friends are with me, which I thought was so strange, but he was like, yeah, I showed them your picture. They all think you are so fine. And I guess they all talked about how they wish they could have a chance with someone like me and blah, blah, blah. And that's when he decided to enter his fancy little car into a race. He asked me if I wanted to come see him perform, but we were in the dead of winter, so I was like, probably not. That's when he started begging me and told me that the prize was really important. So I decided to go. Follow my Insta. Storytime part 2 to my boyfriend putting me up as the prize for a race without me knowing. So when I showed up, I had a feeling that the prize was pretty important. So when I finally saw him, I was like, hey, so what exactly is the prize? And he gave me the weirdest look and he was like, babe, you know how all my friends think you're hot, right? I was like, I mean, sure. And he goes, well, I told them whoever wins gets to be your boyfriend. So I was like, WTF, Brad? Why would you do that? And he just looks at me and goes, don't worry, I'll win. And I was like, well, you better. So I literally stood out there in the cold watching a race that I could barely see. There was someone really tall in front of me. My heart almost dropped several times because I kept hearing Brad is gonna lose. And then I pushed the guy in front of me out of the way and saw Brad cross the finish line. One of his friends actually came up to us after the race and claimed that Brad cheated to win. He was probably just a sore loser, but we celebrated the rest of the night. If you guys have a story you'd like to share, follow me and DM me on Instagram. Storytime about the craziest party my boyfriend ever went to. So his best friend TJ called him saying that there was a party going on in another town. Him, having just went through a breakup, was really upset and was in the mood for a party. So TJ picked up him and his friend Ava and went to the town to pick up another friend who played basketball. It was about 9 o'clock when they got there and they had all already pre-gamed with Henny. And because he was so upset, the alcohol was hitting. He had also listened to hella Drake. And all the guys were just in the mood for a fight. And Jeremy honestly thought Ava would shut things down if it got too crazy. But little did he know. So the party was at this massive rented building, and they had to wait 30 minutes for someone to come and let them inside. However, Ava went in ahead of them because a guy thought she was cute. And once they walked in, they saw just how nice the place was. Everything smelled of alcohol and weed, and the place had an amazing view. There were gorgeous windows all around, and so many celebrity basketball players showed up. So they knew that they were in and they were going to go get more drinks at the bar. But TJ was so drunk he was gone. And his friend inside the party was already hitting on a girl. Turns out she was someone else's girl. So they knew a fight was about to go down. Stay tuned and follow us on Insta. Part 2 to my boyfriend's crazy party story. I never gave a name for the guy inside the party, but we can call him Michael. So Michael was literally flirting with this other man's girl. And for some reason, these guys were like, yeah, let's fight. I don't know how boys think. Jeremy's literally hyping himself up in the bathroom, and then he hears screaming, so he knows it's time to go down. And as he stumbles out of the bathroom, ready to fight, he sees Michael and the girl's boyfriend beating each other up. But his friend group never jumped in.
With you, believe me when I say it feels so deep.